Hi, seniors. Mr. Chocolates here with another Life After Hersey senior session. The topic for this session is resumes and interviews, which is a great skill to have no matter what you do for the rest of your life. It could be for scholarships, for jobs, for internships. So no matter where you're going, what path you've chosen for your life after Hersey, you're going to need at some point a resume and most likely an interview. I can almost guarantee it. So they're pretty big topics, but I'm gonna try to cut to the real basics. And again, there's always more resources provided down in the description. So let's get started. All right, so resumes and interviews usually go together. So the first thing we talk about usually is resumes. And this is just a personal summary of your professional and educational history and qualifications. They can all look very different. No two resumes look exactly the same or have the same topics or the same information, but generally they have something about your career goals, your education, your work experience, any activities, honors, or any kind of special skills, whatever is unique to you that you want whoever you're sending this to know about you. Okay, so some of the key components are a heading for sure with your name and info, possibly an objective, your education. Especially when you graduate high school, you want to list that you're a high school graduate, any skills and experiences, and possibly references that you have. Some other things that could be on there are other personal skills, honors, awards, activities, community service, foreign language proficiency, any like specific computer skills, volunteer, possibly where you're going to be attending college. The formatting and appearance, again, can vary depending on your style. There are different templates you can use in Microsoft Word, but basically they're all going to have the same structure. So their format could look different, but they should have a certain structure and it should be organized in a certain way. So of course, your name should stand out at the top of the page. You should use just basic fonts, basic size font size. If you're printing this, it should be on just regular paper. And for most people in high school graduates are going to have a one-page, typed resume. So again, it could look different, but most likely it's just going to be one page. So these are some sample headings, and you can pause this and look at them more in depth, but you can clearly see the first one and the bottom one are the proper way. Everything is capitalized, properly spelled out, right formats, professional emails, professional looking versus the middle one that has a not so professional look in terms of spacing and capitalization and punctuation and an inappropriate email. So just make sure everything looks good. Make sure your email is when you check. Make sure your voicemail is set up with an appropriate message. Once you start sending out resumes and applying for jobs or internships, people may call you back, and you may not be used to answering the phone or checking voicemail, but you should get in that habit because that's how people will communicate with you. For education, you're going to, of course, list the name of the school when you're graduated or when you're going to graduate. If you have a GPA typically of 3.2, I would say, or higher on a 4.0 scale, weighted or unweighted, whatever is higher, put that on there. If it's lower than that, you may want to leave it off, just kind of up to you. If you're applying for a specific job and you've taken courses in that area, so if you're applying for a welding job and you took welding and advanced welding and manufacturing stuff, put that on there for sure. If you're applying for a job as a chef, put that you took the culinary classes. You want to leave off the basic classes that everybody took, U.S. history or something. Everybody took that, so you probably don't need to mention that. Experience, again, can be a wide range of things. It could be part-time jobs, full-time jobs, internships, volunteer and community service, club or group involvement, church involvement, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts, babysitting. Anything that you have done where someone has put you in charge of something is an experience. So don't discount anything you've done. You're like, yeah, that wasn't that important. If somebody put you in charge of something or someone, and it was something that you went to regularly, it's an experience, and you should try to find a way to put it on there. Again, so include the most relevant skills and qualities. You're gonna list them in chronological order from the current going back in time, probably stopping at freshman year. Anything before freshman year is not going to be so relevant anymore. If it's a job or experience you're currently at, you're going to use present tense verbs. So I file, I sell, I whatever, present tense. If it's something that you don't do anymore, past tense. I filed, I sold, I watched, etc. Make sure that any skills that you're putting down or qualities, you can quantify it, like, or you can just prove that it's legit, right? If somebody asks you, I sold a whole lot of stuff, like how much did you sell? Put a number if you can. Same thing with any kind of specialized skills. Don't just say I'm good at computers. Like what kind of computers, what kind of software do you know? What's your proficiency in language, and so on and so forth. So the more specific you are, the better, because if you're asked about it, you're going to have to prove it. And then references are things that can be added to your resume if you have space, but it's always good to have resume references on hand and make sure they know that you want to use them as a reference. And so if someone does call them, they know why. So that was really quick, and there's, again, more resources you can look at that are listed in the link below, but you may also need a cover letter, which is more of a narrative of your experiences on top of your resume. A resume doesn't always get you a job, but it can get you an interview. So you really want to put time and consideration into that resume and proofread it, have someone else look at it. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll look at it for you because definitely you could be the best candidate, but if your resume is not strong or if there's a lot of mistakes, they're just going to toss it. And it's going to be unfortunate if you miss out on the opportunity because of just something you could have proofread. All right, so as I just mentioned, the resume could possibly get you an interview for a scholarship, for a job, for an internship, and that's just when you then meet. You meet to discuss the possibility of doing something, getting a scholarship, getting a job. It can be formal, where you sit there in a suit or a business suit kind of thing, and they all sit around a table and there's specific questions and it's whatever, or it could just be a chat, on the phone or at a Starbucks, and it just kind of depends. Could be long. Personally, I've been on interviews that have been a couple hours, and I've been on ones that are like 25 minutes. So it just depends. Phone, in person, of course, Zoom now being a popular thing. A lot of stuff is done on Zoom. You can meet with one person. You can meet with a whole panel of people. There could be different rounds. It could really depend. So this is, again, their chance to meet you. And see, okay, now we see you, how you look on paper with your resume. Now let's actually get to know you. But it's also your chance to learn more about, the job, the internship, see if it's a good fit. If it's a scholarship and they're giving you money, it's probably a no-brainer. But if it's something you're going to spend a lot of time at, you want to see if this is a place you want to be or a job you want to do. So it can be really exciting to get that chance to share all the great things about yourself, but it can be pretty stressful. So you want to, bottom line, prepare. It will minimize your anxiety and help you make a great impression. So they're looking for people typically, whether it's an internship, job, whatever, that are organized, prepared, hardworking, and they really want the job or scholarship. You have to convey that to them. So that means they're going to look at people who took the time to really think ahead before they got to this interview. It'll be clear if you just showed up and don't know anything about what's happening. So get the facts, look at what this entails, the job description, what are the requirements for the scholarship. If you need to dress, plan for the appropriate clothing. I'll mention it really briefly in a minute. Research the organization, who's giving this money, who's offering you this job. Get to know, again, everything that's involved in it, and prepare for some typical interview questions, which I will share in a second. So again, if you're going somewhere for an interview, make sure you know the exact time and location, plan ahead, how long it's going to take you to drive there. Make sure if it's on Zoom, you've downloaded Zoom and it's updated and internet's fine and you have a clear a private place to do it. Know who's interviewing you, know their job title. If you don't know how to pronounce their name, what pronouns they use or titles they use. So if you need to call and say, I have an interview, you can even call anonymously. I have an interview with this Christopher person, like, how do you pronounce that last name? And the person who works there hopefully can tell you. You don't have to tell them who you are. So be honest, I've done that before. So that way, when you get there, you're not insulting anyone or mispronouncing their name. Clothing, again, make sure that your clothes match and are ironed, and you might need to dress a little bit more formally. Just depends what it is. If it's for a lifeguard at the pool, you probably don't need to wear a suit and tie, but if it's for an internship at a bank, you probably do want to dress up, right? So you don't have to get expensive stuff. You can borrow things. When you get to college, I know a lot of colleges have stuff that you can borrow or even are donated. So but make sure you're prepared for there. Even if it's virtual, don't be in your pajamas, laying on your bed, like pretend like you're there in person. So you can go back, and these are just some traditional dress for men and women, but I won't spend time on it. You can pause and look back there. Again, research the company, research the organization. Google is a huge help. And then know, what are you applying for? It's really important. That way you can tailor your answers, to that specific position. All right, some typical interview questions. Of course, the number one is going to be, tell me about yourself. So you don't start out with, well, I was born on a cold, snowy day in December. No, you start with, your current, this is what I do at least, start with what am I doing currently, and work back. So I'm about to graduate, John Hersey High School. I'm planning to do this next year, whatever. Some of the things I've done while I was here were, and go on from there. Strengths, what are some things you're good at? If you're asked, what are your weaknesses? You could be asked that. And that's a tricky one, right? Because you don't want to sound like you have a bunch of weaknesses. So if you can find something that you can spin into how you've improved on it, or, maybe why you don't consider it a weakness, or it's an area of growth that you have been working on, that would be key. Any kind of work history, why are you interested in this place? And what are your goals? So have those, 6 questions really kind of ready to go. Those are the most common ones that you'll find. Afterwards, thank them, ask them, what the next steps are, have some questions ready to go, send them a thank you email or note. And then if you haven't heard from them, and, if they say, yeah, we'll get back to you by the end of next week, and the end of next week has come and gone, feel free to follow up with them. Hey, I'm just really interested in this opportunity still. Just wondering, if you've made a choice, please keep me in mind still. This again is another slide you can pause and look at, but if you are going to do a Zoom, again, make sure that you use these things. That we may have kind of gone away from this a little bit more lately, but again, practice and make sure that you aren't discounted for the job because of technological problems. So I know that was really quick. Again, if you want someone to review your resume, to proofread it for you, feel free to send it to me, reach out to me. If you want to do a mock interview, if you want me to go through those 6 questions and ask you them as if it were a real interview, I can definitely do that. So don't hesitate to reach out for any of these 2 topics. I know it's hard to cover them in such a short time, but they're really important things that you will be working on. I guarantee you the rest of your life. You'll always be updating your resume. You'll always be working on your interviewing skills, possibly, hopefully not, but you'll get better with practice. So the more you do it, the better you'll get, and the more opportunities you'll have for yourself. So reach out with any questions. Thanks.